Welcome back, guys. My name's Alex. That's Eileen. And you guys are watching and listening to the Straight Chicane podcast, where we talk about Formula One. And this week we are talking about Baku.
Back to Baku.
We are back at a street race in the streets of Azerbaijan. Thanks. I can never get that one. I'm like Trump, you know what I mean? Yeah, so how are you? How was your weekend? Did you enjoy the race?
Did I enjoy the race?
Yes.
Hey, you know what? I did. It wasn't super exciting. It was a good weekend. I think there's a lot to talk about.
There is a lot to talk about, and we will unpack that here real soon.
Yeah. As far as the race, I think we expected it to be as crazy as qualifying, and everybody was a little cautious.
You know what's funny is that
0 red flags at all. 1 safety car, lap 1.
Yeah, which is totally weird because typically this particular race has lots of red flags during the race, especially early in the race. However, like you just said, no red flags. All the red flags seem to have come during qualifying.
I mean, I think on top of the hype, obviously, around the whole, it's Baku, there's always like carnage, there's always unpredictability. The grid was so mixed up for the race that I think I expected it to be like, we were going to see some overtaking, we were going to see some battling, we were going to see some people making mistakes, we were going to see an opening lap 1 crash, we were going to see something.
I was expecting to see something because, like you just said, there was a mix-up. Not everybody that is normally at the front of the grid was at the front of the grid.
Yes.
So it was starting Sunday morning to watch the race, we were all very, very excited over here.
Everyone was excited, and the anticipation was heavy.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I don't even think I've personally ever watched a race in Baku that it rained. A race weekend.
Yeah. So like most weekends, going into it, there's always a little bit of weather. Going into this weekend, they had talked a little bit about rain, but they said it was mostly, they were mostly saying it was going to be Saturday morning is when they were kind of predicting it. I don't think practice 3, I didn't get to watch practice 3. I didn't see any rain or hear about any rain for that particular practice. I don't know.
No.
However, some sprinkles and some stuff came for qualifying.
Yes.
Yeah. And that made it really, really interesting.
That's really what caused it to be a mixed up, strange qualifying.
It was. Because it never like poured, it never downpoured.
No, but it was such a chaotic qualifying that everyone was like, you have to get out there right away to set a lap. Not because of the rain, but because there was literally multiple red flags in each qualifying session. Yeah,
and they weren't even sure if you were going to they would be able to finish a lap. And a lot of times there was a lot of people that were on a flyer and it got ruined because of the red flag. So yeah, that's a good point. You're right. Like that was a huge for them. They all had to get out early. I don't think there was at one point all 20 cars were out in Q1. They were all at the same time. They all rushed back out after one of the red flags. It was a little chaotic.
It was crazy
for quick qualifying.
Yes. Yeah.
Before we get really into the weekend, let's talk about like kind of leading up to the weekend. Like, any big news coming into the weekend? I know that we had George Russell. He was feeling ill.
Yeah, he was very sick.
Yeah.
He didn't, he wasn't there for media, obviously, on Thursday.
Right.
But on Friday during practice, he literally, didn't even sound like him on the radio.
And even on Sunday after the race, he still didn't sound normal.
People were like, he sounds like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
It was bad. So obviously, he was battling like a respiratory, like some type of a upper respiratory infection. So, I can only imagine the head cold and the feelings and having to fight through that. So, but
yeah, and doing an athletic sport like at full tilt. You're right. Yeah.
So that, and then, the big topic is, I would say, the old men on the grid.
The old men.
The old men on the grid, the distinguished gentlemen. So obviously everyone keeps asking Lewis, like, who's having, not a great first season at Ferrari. And is the speculation he's done, he's retiring, he's quitting, he's this, he's that. And so, he was very, of course, outspoken that racing is his love.
Yeah.
And he's going to be here. He's going to be around for a while. He's like, I look at Alonso and I see him and I know I can do this for another 5 years. So he made the comment, he's going to race until Alonso's 50.
So that gives us 5?
Yeah, more than 5 years, essentially.
6 years?
Yeah. So, Lewis has been saying, I would say 5 years minimum for the last couple of years. Like, I'll be here for at least 5 more years. I'll be here for at least 5 more years. And then Alonso was asked similar question.
Okay.
And I think you and I have talked about Alonso, like what's going to happen. I mean, obviously what's going to happen.
We all have our theories about Alonso and why he's even still here. But yeah, tell me more.
Well, what are our theories?
I want to hear more for it, and I'll tell you my theory.
Okay. Well, I mean, for me, I think he obviously wants to stick around for Adrian Newey to see like what's going to happen at Aston Martin. I think, he believes in the team. I think he's like, okay, we're coming into a regulation change.
Yeah, all new things.
Yeah, like they've got Adrian Newey. Obviously, like you had to start like halfway through the season.
Yeah.
What's
Stroll has invested a lot of money in Aston Martin.
Right. What's going to happen at this point? So, he was asked like, what does he see his future being? And, he was pretty open, not like with a question mark, but kind of giving us some definitive answers. And he said, well, if the car isn't good next year, then maybe I'll stick around for one more year to see, because he doesn't want to leave with a bad taste in his mouth. But if the car is good next year, that next year will be his last year.
Maybe. Or it's so good that he's like, I got to come back for another. I think he wants to end things on a high note, and he feels he's still better than the car that he's been in the last few years. You know what I mean? I think he feels like he has more to show than the cars that he's been in. Like the car has always been limited. Right. He's always had issues, and he's had a lot of bad luck. A lot of bad luck at a lot of races, like engine failure, brake failure, everything that was like out of his own control. Because
we talked about it last one. He's literally outqualified Stroll every weekend, pretty much, and somehow has less points than Stroll. And it really is bad luck. Like he's lucked out, and he's been pretty open about it on the radio. Like I somehow always get screwed in the pit stops. I somehow always have some type of an issue. And then we saw this week he was behind Piastri, who jumped the start. So he jumped the start, and then he got a penalty, which definitely put him out of position.
Yeah, and he even said it right on the radio, like, yeah, I jumped it because I followed.
Yeah, he saw what was happening in front of him.
Yeah.
I would probably do the same thing. When you're at a red light and it's like the car starts rolling in front of you, you start rolling too. Yep. They want to take off, because I know when I'm waiting and I see like the turn light go, I'm like, oh, it's about to be green.
Yeah.
And then just kidding. So, you're always paying attention, unless you're the first person. You're paying attention to the person in front of you. So.
Yep, and what's going on in your peripheral. Yes, absolutely. All right, so you want to know my little scenario and theory about Fernando?
Sure. I think I know where you're going.
It is. So he is 40-something years old, 44, 45.
I don't think he's that old. I think he's like 43.
So he's in his early 40s.
Sure, yeah.
There was the crash that had happened earlier in his career that caused some sort of head damage that was not televised during a practice testing.
It's 44.
44. Okay, so I think he thinks he's much younger. We've heard this theory. There's a theory out there on the internet.
There's a TikTok conspiracy video
there is.
there.
And honestly, I can't explain any other thing, because he is doing things. Granted, Lewis is getting there, close to that age too. But typically, we don't see this level age of athletes at this high of a caliber. Yeah, they might be doing Porsche Cup or maybe IndyCar or NASCAR or something like that, but never really, like, it just doesn't happen like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think he had some...
So you think that he stopped aging?
I think he had some trauma to the brain that caused him to not realize how old he was, and he thought he like had missed like 10 years of his life, like somehow got erased in his mind. So he thinks mentally that he is younger than what he is. And I can only vouch for myself. It's this whole world and everything we do is a very mental game that we use. You either view yourself as an old person, or you can view yourself as a young person, and you can go, right? And I think that's his whole mentality, is that he thinks he's younger than he is. I'll stop there, because I could keep rambling about this theory.
Well, he did come back as a rookie a few years ago.
He did. See?
So, I don't know. But
it all makes sense to me.
He's an athlete, and, at the end of the day, he's going to do it until, he feels that he's ready to exit, essentially. And so we'll see when that is. Next year or the year after.
Yes.
But it is on the horizon.
You're right. So a couple other news things that kind of came in was we got the sprint list for next year.
Yeah, we've talked.
And you're not really happy about it.
Well, I'm not. And, we talked about it on a previous episode, because there was a leaked calendar.
Was the leak calendar the same?
It was the correct one.
Okay.
And so, we didn't get too much into it, but we used to have, obviously, Brazil was an iconic sprint track.
Yeah, because it's good overtaking, short, fast. Yeah, there's a lot of.
You could always kind of add. I mean, obviously, with the exception of last year, it was just so crazy with the weather. But we have had Miami as a sprint race. We obviously I don't feel great about overtaking in Miami, and we go to Coda. So obviously, we go to Austin, and we've the last 2 years had a sprint race.
Yeah.
And it has made the weekend pretty eventful because it's a good track for overtaking. It's you definitely see a lot. But we're getting rid of Brazil. We're getting rid of, obviously, Spa, which I think is essentially going to Zandvoort for its last year. So our sprint calendar, couple people remaining, and a couple new tracks.
Yeah.
So obviously we're keeping China.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're keeping Miami.
Which I don't know why.
We're adding Canada, which Canada historically, sure, it's a good track, but I don't feel like there's a whole lot of overtaking.
Same with Miami. Yeah. Even though I thought there was last time we talked, but no.
So then we're going to have Silverstone back, which we had the first year.
Which was good. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. I feel like listen, I think Silverstone is always like a race that delivers every year. It's always like in the top 5 of every season. And then we're bringing in Singapore, so essentially Singapore is taking over Brazil or Coda.
Or Coda.
And obviously Singapore is historically not a track where the race is super eventful.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of similar to like a Monaco, but because qualifying is what matters. So we're bringing in these sprint races that are they going to bring a whole lot of excitement? I think the part of the sprint race that's the best is when you can see some overtakes, and it is kind of like a mini race. And so I don't know how I don't feel great about it. Okay.
Yeah, I know that the drivers like Singapore a lot.
They do because it's challenging, but it's also hot and like super tough.
Yes.
So we're gonna have 2 races in Singapore where they're like on fire and dying at the end of the race.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to be dying at the end of the sprint. They might be hot and sweaty.
Sure, but so they have to do a race and then they have to go qualify.
Yeah.
After they're tired from doing a race in Singapore.
That couldn't be true.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not really happy about it not being at a Coda because I enjoyed the Coda sprint. I thought it was good. Yeah,
and we're there, so we're a little biased.
Yeah, we're a little bit. You're right about that. Miami, it's just not that great of a track for overtaking. I think they're trying to get more fans because I know Miami has the issue of fans not being there for practice, and probably qualifying. It's probably not, and it's not like Coda. You know what I mean? So I think that they are trying to get more people to come to Miami on more of the days so that they can say, okay, there's a reason to come for 2 days. Because it is a party town. Most of the things in Miami, it's about the after parties and all the events prior to the racing.
Listen, maybe it's tied into their contract that they like basically re-upped for the rest of eternity.
Maybe.
Until the end of time. I'm not sure. I mean, I know a lot of people feel certain types of way about sprints and feel like sprints aren't real and this and that. And like there's a lot of whatever out there. I think it's crazy that we're going to keep Miami as a sprint over Austin. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But
yeah,
whatever.
I can't disagree with you. I'm actually on the same page.
Well, good. Well, good.
All right. So I think that's it for kind of leading up into the weekend. I think that's all the main news. There wasn't that much.
Let's get back to Baku.
Okay, so Baku practice. There was, I don't know. I feel like.
I don't know about you, but I was feeling like Ferrari was gonna.
That's what I was just trying to say. Ferrari seemed like they were trying to do good. I was trying to put it into words, and you said it for me. I think Ferrari looked good, and on paper, they were gonna be fast.
Another weekend where we were feeling optimistic for Ferrari.
Yeah.
In practice, and we all know it's just practice. You never know, but it felt good. Mm-hmm. Lewis was feeling good with the car. Lewis was P1 in practice too. You know, the McLarens people were struggling. People were trying to figure things out. And boy, were we wrong with Ferrari. Again.
Yeah.
So it's okay. I say this every time, but it was tough. I think that qualifying, we kind of expected them to be a little bit more in the mix. And then obviously the rain piece and then the tire strategy. Like everybody was using mediums. And my understanding is when you go into qualifying, it's better to like get knocked out of qualifying with like no tires left.
Sure.
So why the team didn't listen to Lewis, and I guess Ferrari were speaking specific for Lewis in this case.
Well, I do know Lewis used more mediums during practice.
Right, but he also asked to change tires during Q2, and they didn't have him box.
Yeah.
So he stayed out on old 5-lap used tires trying to deliver a qualifying lap and got knocked out of Q2 again.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, obviously there's a lot of things around Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari. And I mean, it's just every weekend that something happens, he's like the worst human being and the worst driver on planet Earth.
But that's just that's just on the internet though. So
Sure.
that's just what you're seeing on
There's a
it.
lot of people that have things to say to other people. I mean, I did actually for once in motorsport see a comment, Flavio Briatore, saying that Lewis will be back with the new regulations. But it's like, you know, obviously, like, it's just, there's always something. So he was knocked out, qualified 12th, and then, you know, his teammate qualifies 10th because he crashes out. So it's like, you know, and to be quite honest, there's a 40-point spread between the two of them. I think that there's a bigger issue, and everyone's like, you know, obviously Fred is talking about it. Like at the end of the day, we're fighting for literally P8 and P9 as drivers, and there's a bigger problem here.
Yeah, and I mean they even brought some brake upgrades this week because there was a couple teams that brought some upgrades, not very much. There's not very many upgrades coming this year. They've all moved on. So I guess their car is just not good.
I don't know what I have no idea what it is. It doesn't make any sense. And then the weekends where they feel like they're doing well, they're out of position and they're unable to like get back.
Yeah. I do feel like they always find themselves out of position for qualifying when they're in, you know, Q1, Q2. I feel like they always come out a little later than they should, or sometimes they're the first ones out when they maybe should be at the back. You know what I mean? And I just don't.
Yeah, I mean, we have to remember that Charles did put it on pole at some point this year.
A few times, yeah.
He's only once, but
I mean, he's always been up near there.
Sure, but Lewis also raced too, and like he put it on pole for this. And I know sprint races aren't real to some people, but he did have the fastest lap during qualifying for the sprint race, and then won the sprint race. So there is potential there. It's just so inconsistent, and they're fast in the straight line. They just suck in the corners.
They do.
If it was an oval, maybe they would be better. I don't know, but I'll tell you what, it was another bummer weekend for Ferrari fans. It was tough. Charles crashed in qualifying, same corner
That he always crashes.
that he always crashes in turn 15. He has a love-hate relationship with Baku. Like, he has had the most consecutive poles here for obviously leading up into this year, but has also crashed out, you know, whether it be qualifying or the race 3 times. And so it's just, but you know what, granted, like, and not for nothing, it is a very challenging track. We always see people crashing out. A lot of people did. Veterans, the championship leader crashed out twice. Qualifying, I expected when they cut to the McLaren, I was like, oh my God, Oscar? Like, this is crazy. So, you know, it's tough for Ferrari. We saw some, you know, obviously different strategy in the race. We saw, you know, the whole Lewis couldn't even give the position back correctly. Like, okay, well, seriously, Charles doesn't care about those 2 points. the ninth or eighth place that they were fighting for.
Yeah.
And to be quite honest, they did let Charles pass, but Lewis was on a different strategy. And if they would have let them fight fair, Lewis probably would have passed him anyways because Charles was on old hard. So it is what it is. I think to our point and all Ferrari fans' points, there's a bigger problem than the drivers.
Yeah, there is probably a bigger problem than the driver. I think the car's got an issue, and I don't think they're going to be able to fix it this year. I think we'll have to wait for the new Rex for next year and see how.
And that's fine. But let's fingers crossed, light our candles, get an Etsy doll that we can I don't know what the Max Verstappen fans have done, but you know what? Let's put our good faith that something could potentially happen. So.
Deal. That sounds like a good idea. Since you just said Max's name, let's talk a little bit about Red Bull because Max seems to be putting that car in position where he shouldn't be. And I don't know how he said it before that he didn't think he was ever going to win another race this year. Mm-hmm. He said it not too long ago. Mm-hmm. He's now won 2 in a row.
And many are saying Max is back.
Yep.
And I don't agree with that. Max never went anywhere.
No.
Max was delivering where he shouldn't even be delivering. And I think Red Bull did bring some upgrades. They brought him to Monza.
Yeah.
Monza, whole new Max. Then they come here, Max gets a grand slam. Max will deliver whenever the car is there, he will win.
They are really good at strategy. They're really good at taking the car from Friday night into the Saturday or after qualifying, making the little things that they're allowed to do after qualifying to have the car ready for race day as well. They're really good at that. And they've always kind of been good at that. You could never, you just said it kind of in a different way. You can never count Max out.
No.
Even though his car was clearly, nobody's car is nearly as good as what McLaren's car is this year. And he has consistently been a McLaren sandwich or push them out of the way or
he's always
put it on pole.
He's always up there. Races where they've really been challenged, he's had some tough races this year. Obviously he had a little hot streak where he, didn't get on the podium for several races consecutively. But I will say don't count him out of the mix.
There's still an outside shot that he could win the championship.
There still is. And some are making up crazy things. It's 69 points. There is a couple sprint races. There is 7 races left. Yeah. There is a good amount of time, but he does have to win literally every single race.
So he'd have to win everything outright from here on out. And he would probably need McLaren or Oscar and Lando to probably not finish P2, P3 a couple of times.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
Yeah.
What I will say is that, and not only Max, obviously he had a grand slam, he took pole. He has the most pole positions this season.
Mm-hmm.
And so from qualifying form, he typically doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but also speaking to Red Bull, we saw Tsunoda have a really good weekend this week.
Yeah.
So
he was up there.
Yeah.
Best, P6 or something.
Mm-hmm. Best finish. Mm-hmm. And solid qualifying, really good position, really good form. And Red Bull was able to move up in the constructors to P2.
They did. They passed Ferrari in the constructors championship twice.
Mercedes moved up. Sorry. Oh my God. Mercedes moved up, but Red Bull's literally right behind Ferrari by
Yeah.
So it was what was going to happen.
Things were sliding and not in the favor for Ferrari. Right?
Yeah. Where last season, Ferrari was on the tilt to up to the last race. And so we're seeing the opposite, obviously. Are they focused more on the next car? Who knows? But I think for Max, we're not ever going to rule him out. He's going to put on a show to the end of the season. What does he have to lose,
Well, I think that's just always been his mindset, especially after winning, he just really wanted that first championship. And then after that, it's all cake,
Yeah, he's been, it's all extra according to him. Yeah. And we know that he wants to do other things.
He's doing other things. Exactly. So but everything he's doing is still hardcore high-end motorsport.
Yeah.
Whether it's on his simulator, doing iRacing, real top competitions with the top guys in iRacing, or it's the Nürburgring with a Porsche Cup, or he's driving the new Ford GTD, you know what I mean, and putting a lap record down on the track. So
if anybody is literally locked in and dialed into like driving and racing, it's Max. Like I feel like
he's in his prime. I think hands down, even if he doesn't win the championship right now, that's just because how good Oscar or whoever else wins it is.
I think,
but he's still at the top of his game,
of course.
And I don't think it's very hard for anybody else to even come close to what he can do. Even though Oscar and Lando are right there in the point championship wise, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it just, obviously we talked a lot about McLaren on the last race weekend with the whole, they want to be politically correct all the time type of mentality for their drivers. And a lot of jokes around it. Oscar crashed out, so Lando needed to crash out this weekend. We'll get to Lando's pit stop and all of that, and all the things. So it makes for good entertainment, not obviously if they're your favorite drivers and your favorite team. But I share the sentiment that it's frustrating that McLaren's just not letting their drivers race. And I'm not going to go down that hole again because I know I spent like 20 minutes on the last podcast talking about that. But I think Max is somebody that is it's a true talent. It's impressive to see what he does. Like, I think that, at the end of the day, it's going to be an interesting end of the season because he's going to give it everything he's got, and I think that Red Bull overcame a lot of internal issues this year with their people behind the scenes. We'll see what that means for obviously their development for their new car and their new engine and stuff for next year, what that does for Max, but it's going to make it exciting for the rest of the year. Yeah,
I think it's going to go down the little wire, especially with the McLaren boys. And I think we should talk about McLaren now a little bit.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so obviously you already kind of hinted at it. Oscar put it in the wall in Q3 in qualifying.
Oscar did not have a good weekend.
He didn't. He was not having a great. I think the best part of his weekend was sitting alongside the track watching the race on one of the marshals' phone
and getting some snacks from the marshals.
Yeah, I think that was probably the highlight of his weekend.
Yeah.
Because he was having some struggling issues, getting the car to perform better or up to pace, really, and then just binned it. Mm-hmm. Really.
Well, he had a bad start, anti-stall, jumped the start, ended up in last place, and then was like, back in the mix with all these people. And then all of a sudden we've got a yellow flag and it's Oscar in the wall, lap one. So, I mean, obviously that's it for Oscar. That's all we have to say. Couple mistakes, a DNF, which we said all McLaren in this Drivers' Championship needed was another DNF for it to swing in a different direction. Yeah. Didn't really go that way this weekend.
Well, but it also didn't really work out in Lando's favor either because he didn't quite jump on top of the opportunity that he had since Oscar was.
Yeah, and he couldn't, considering qualifying was the most chaotic session I've ever had. Mm-hmm. Longest qualifying session, longer than all the Grand Prix.
So it was like six red flags, like 2 hours almost, or right around that.
It was like 93 minutes of qualifying. Yeah. And so to Lando's strategy, he's like, let me get out in Q3 for the last run when everybody's going out. Let me get out first. And in most cases, it doesn't really work out when you go out first.
No, typically you want to be the last one over the line.
So Q3 we had the rain at the beginning. We had Carlos put it on provisional pole. And then we had another red flag. And obviously they all had to come back out and get their laps in. I would say 75% of the drivers in that last run didn't even have a time on the board.
No, they didn't. This was like 7 minutes or 6 minutes was left. And everybody needed, it was like, I think it was Carlos had a time run.
And Liam lost.
And Liam lost, and they were 1 and 2.
Yeah. And so, I mean, they got it in with obviously the whole situation with the weather. And then Lando was just like, I need to focus on getting an actual time on the board because with the way that things were going, we expected to see another red flag, which we did, see 2 in Q3. Mm-hmm. We had Charles crash out. We had Oscar crash out. So, from that perspective, it's not the wrong choice to make. He did have a mistake. He did touch the wall.
Yeah, and he was probably conservative too, even though he did touch the wall.
And because it was wet out.
Yeah. It was wet. No one went to intermediates. No one went to wets, even though I don't really see anyone going to wets much anymore unless they're manned. Told to have to. But it was like a weird amount of rain, and then I know they had resurfaced a couple areas, like around the castle area. They had put biking.
A lot of people talking about the white lines.
The white lines, and then I know the green biking lanes that they had put in. Now, I don't know if the green biking lanes were as slick as the white lines, but I know that there was new paint in some of the areas that were like right on corners. And so, there was a couple things that they had to deal with that were a little bit of an issue. So McLaren didn't have the best weekend.
Not great. And then on top of that, so the McLarens qualified 7th and 9th.
Yeah.
So Lando didn't really get an optimal situation. Now, like he did like last year in Brazil, where Max ended up like being out in Q1 and Lando put it on pole. And so it's like he didn't have this ideal circumstance where he could deliver 25 points versus him, DNFing on lap 1. But then on top of that, there wasn't a lot of overtaking.
Very few. I don't know much.
He stayed on his mediums for like 30, like a long time. They kept extending him. And then they
plus 10 and plus 10.
They bring him in. McLaren has one driver in the race and one pit stop. And somehow they muff it up.
Yeah.
So a 5-second pit stop again, which probably threw him behind he threw him in the DRS train.
Yeah.
With Liam, with Yuki, with Lewis, with, Charles. And it really didn't set him up for success. And I did see somebody put all the pit stops. They're right. Definitely has the bad luck when it comes to getting poor pit stops. I don't think they're sabotaging him.
No.
But somebody needs to put their foot down and be like, what the hell is happening? Why is there always one tire that's not like screwed on all the way? Some type of an issue, because my God.
It's every time.
It is almost 75% of the time there's a problem. So
yeah, that sucks because that's not his fault.
Right. And it would have, been interesting. Like, what would that have looked like for a momentum for Lando to have that? He really only was able to close the gap by a couple points, and it's still a 25-point spread, after a DNF, which you would think would really close it down. So not great. McLaren was, on track to win the Constructors this weekend.
They could have won it the earliest than anyone else has ever won it.
Right.
Where they took over the lead from last year was here. So it'd been like a full circle type thing for them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, cool. it didn't pan out in their favor. They were kind of shit the bed on multiple aspects. The first time we saw Oscar really make some mistakes.
Yeah.
He doesn't make very many mistakes. That was one thing I've noticed about him. He's very calm, cool, and collected. Just kind of made some mistakes there. And then, faulty pit stops on the team. And Lando didn't really capitalize on the moment that he had.
Well, yeah, of course. And I think, I saw online somewhere that somebody was like, I think that Yuki Tsunoda was holding up Lando on purpose, wasn't going to let him, he's not going to let him by. But so Max has a better chance to like win the championship.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, that would make sense from a team perspective, for sure. Red Bull is in a championship. Granted, they're never going to catch McLaren in the Constructors.
Never.
But this is this is a battle,
It's always a mind game and a little chess piece,
but I don't think that's the case. I think Andrea Stella said, he got interviewed at the end, and he was like, we just didn't have the pace either. So and a little bit of a combination of things.
Yeah.
They were too slow in the straights, which McLaren is
normally
good in the corners.
Yeah, they are always good in the corners. They're like rockets in the corners. They can hold momentum. So this kind of changes up the Drivers' Championship a little bit. It brought Lando and Max a little bit closer. I think you said it already. Max is now, 69 points behind? And
Lando are
25 points. So that could be another DNF and someone finishing first, Lando finishing first, and it's like
It's going to get closer. I'm like... It's going to get spicier. Listen, there's only a small amount, and like somebody has to win, and they're going to be battling each other.
Yeah.
Max is going to be in the mix, rolling his dice. So, I'm interested to see on to Singapore. Lando won last year, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Williams. Let's talk about Carlos.
Let's talk about Williams.
Because Carlos finally, well, going into the weekend, I think we kind of always said that Williams could have a really good weekend, right? Because
they're fast on the
and straights, right? And I think we kind of saw that, and it proved it.
Right. I mean, they were looking good, I think, all weekend. We expected probably both cars.
Even Alex, to be in Q3.
Alex was our first red flag, our first victim of the Baku walls. So that was unfortunate. But, so he started, obviously, 19th because Ocon got disqualified. And then Carlos was in the right place at the right time.
Put down a fast lap right before the little drizzle, rain, whatever you want to call it, came down. And it was just like, perfect timing. And there was also a red flag that had happened, and he got it all in before all that.
Yeah.
And it was a good number. It was a really good number. And
yeah, and I think too, and then
they were happy.
Yeah, I mean, he did a great job. I think that there would have been a lot more competition because Max obviously put it on pole by like almost half a second.
Yeah.
And a lot of drivers were pretty cautious there, some issues. But Carlos did get out there. He did deliver a lap. He did set himself up for success. He did run a great race. He did, have his own strategy, asked when he wanted to box, and ended up on the podium. And I think, it's super exciting. This is James Vall's first podium with Williams. Obviously, we had, pre him, obviously the George Russell half-point podium in Spa in 2021. But, it's been a long time coming for Williams and like the direction that they've been performing.
Yeah, they've constantly been progressing since James has gotten there. And you've seen a major shift there, especially when you have a good driver like Carlos and Alex, both really good drivers.
Absolutely.
They looked good. We thought they were going to do good. They did perform how we did expect them. We had Alex make a little bit of a mistake, and that kind of ruined his weekend.
And then him being out of position caused him to get in a little scuffle and get a 10-second penalty too. So went from bad to worse
for him.
But still a good weekend for Williams.
Good weekend, good go haul points for them. I think that kind of like pushes them up even at the bottom side of the things. I can't remember if it did or not, if it moved them up.
And Alex is still in the top 10, granted. Carlos has had some bad luck.
Yeah.
And so, I feel like he's kind of like Alonso where he hasn't delivered as many points, but he's been in the mix. He's still trying to understand the car, but I think he was driver of the day. He was like the winning highlight, got the biggest cheer on the podium. Seeing him like full sprint running from his car to obviously his team to celebrate.
Yeah.
And I think my favorite moment was at the podium celebration. Alex was there, with the team, like huge smile on his face, just like it's exciting to see.
He even said this is my first smooth criminal or smooth operator with Williams, and they even heard the song being played too.
Yes, like not by the team on the radio, no, like literally
at the event,
which was cool. He had his little special sparkly unicorn, so we'll see if he keeps that.
Yeah, that might be his good luck charm from here on out, right? So I think that's pretty good on Williams. I think we should talk about Racing Bull because Liam was...
He was in the mix.
He was, which was kind of surprising because I'm Liam Lawson, was not necessarily expected. I don't expect it to be...
I expected, listen, I was like, oh God, Carlos and Liam, who have been known to hit each other for several races in a row, are lining up together in the front with nothing to lose.
That's why I thought there was going to be some carnage.
I thought there was going to be something too, but out of position... This was his best finishing points, so he was P5. And I think we need to, think about that. So P5, Liam, obviously Hadjar was in the points too, but, he felt like he was out of position too. But Liam and Yuki are allegedly fighting for their seats at the end of this year because there's a lot of speculation that Isaac is going to go to Red Bull in the second seat, and Yuki's not going to go back to Racing Bull, so he's potentially out of a seat, and they're thinking about promoting potentially, this is all alleged, an F2 driver up to Racing Bulls. So, they had a great weekend. I think let's see what they do the rest of the year. But Liam, I think, got a lot of praise this weekend.
Got a lot of praise. Put down the run at the right time. First of all, got into Q3, which was good.
Right.
like, due to a lot of red flags and a lot of people getting kicked out early. But yeah, put himself in the right position to at least get a good haul of points at the race. Was he out of place? Yes. Would he have been there if all the other drivers put down their thing?
Yeah, but you know what?
But maybe not. I don't know. I think he was.
He did hold his own throughout the race. Like, he was in P3 until his pit stop and then got, overcut or whatever.
Overtook, yeah.
Yeah.
Overtaken.
And also, like, nobody was really passing him. Yuki got past him because Yuki was on, like, his tires were warmed up and he was able to pass him when Liam came out of the pits and was, trying to fire his tires up or whatever. That was really it.
Yeah.
Lando couldn't get past him. The
Nope.
Ferraris couldn't get past him. Like, he was able to hold his own. So kudos to Liam.
Yep. You're right about that. Yeah, so I think weird weekend. Overall race, a little boring because there wasn't very much overtaking and there wasn't really any red flags, which there usually is.
Yeah.
So the race kind of went pretty quickly. It was smooth, sailing.
It wasn't as fast as Monza or
no. Well, that's
race ever.
That's the fastest. Yeah, I don't think anything will be as fast as that. But it just left a lot to be desired a little bit from my end. I was like, well, let's see how this pit stops go, but nothing ever really came out of it, and that's usually when you get a good chance of things to happen.
I think the right strategy was the hards first.
Mhm.
Everyone seemed to be happier with the hards.
Yeah.
And like I would say Max started on them, which was unusual to see our pole sitters start on hards.
Yeah.
And a lot of people started, obviously on the mediums, and they had to pit first, and then they had to work their way back through traffic. So definitely the hards were the tire of the weekend.
Well, and also it's the most ideal track to probably start on the hards because it's the shortest straightaway from the start line to turn one. It's extremely short.
Right.
So in order, to get a slipstream and to be on mediums compared to hards, the offset is probably not that great. So it was really much more evenly matched. So they're like, go with the hards, go long, right? And that was probably the best move. And that was really the highlight of the thing. There are a couple. I know Lewis got past some couple people right at the start of the race, and then most of everything else happened either an overcut or an undercut.
Yeah, he got past. I mean, everybody got past Oscar because he forgot to turn the car on. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot. I definitely agree. I think another highlight of the weekend from a performance standpoint was definitely for me. Like, if it wasn't Carlos, driver of the weekend would definitely be George, in my opinion, because he was P2 and Mercedes in general. A big weekend from them, obviously moving up to P2 in the constructors, but fighting through sickness and performing as well as he did, very impressive. And also got to give it to Kimi. He's been under a lot of scrutiny. Even Toto Wolff was definitely outspoken about him putting into the gravel trap in Monza. And Kimi took it on the chin and he was P4. So great points haul from Mercedes this weekend. And, I think there's a lot to be shaken out between, I don't want to call them midfield, but the other top teams and then the midfield.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
We know in the constructor side of things,
it's wrapped up.
But who's second, third, fourth?
Right.
Second, third, fourth, fifth, maybe? Like, that is all tossed up.
Oh, yeah.
That is still up for grabs for those sections, and that's
Absolutely.
and that we won't find that out until the last race. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I got anything more. Did I forget to talk about anybody that we want to bring up any last time?
I think it's all wrapped up for Baku.
Yeah, I think Baku is.
We're putting it to bed.
Honestly, watch qualifying and then you're good.
Watch qualifying and watch the highlights.
Yeah,
the F1
sure.
highlights of the race.
If you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
We have, I think, a week off, or is it 2 weeks off?
No, it's a week off. So next week.
Okay, a week off.
In Singapore.
And then we're in Singapore. Hot, spicy.
Night race.
Yeah. Street race, which is always good. I like the street race. I know Singapore doesn't have a lot of overtaking, but maybe this year could be different. I wish they would do something different with the tires. I like having the crazy offsets between the soft, medium, and tire. I don't like it being a C1, C2, C3. I like it being spread out much farther. I think that could be a better option to help with.
Send it into the suggestion box for the FIA.
Yeah, I will. I got their email too. I got it from a Lando fan, so I know where I can get it. Okay, so Baku's done and wrapped. We've been with you guys for about 40 minutes now. So if you guys have made it this far, thank you very much. please like, subscribe, whatever it is you do on YouTube to help us out. Comment what you guys thought of the race. What did you think of Carlos? How did you do on your guys? And what did you think? But that's it for me, I think.
Yeah.
That's it for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go Lions.
Go Lions. See ya. Bye.